Boost ignition and liftoff. All systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and The Bean universe. Lesbo and The Bean. Latb. Latb. Where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and The Bean.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Episode 132. Here we go. We're going to bring it up to you a little bit broken style. We have a fun fight weekend coming up this next Saturday in Dallas. It's going to be a 14-card bout. We're actually going to do the prelims. We have the betting lines, not DraftKings. We'll be able to brush up the DraftKings when we get into a fun 5-card pay-per-view. But before that, we're going to have 9 fights to break down. And there are we got some doozies in there. We got a good work up to our pay-per-view. It's been a while. Actually, last weekend, the weekend before was a good fight night. But pay-per-view, Woodley Till, time to get it down. Time to get some movement
cow.
in the division. But before then, we're going to have Frank Camacho come in against Joffrey Neal. Is it Geoffrey or Goffrey? How do they pronounce it? I always forget it on this.
I've known Jeffries and Goffreys. I've known both with the G.
Right.
And both the J. So I have no idea.
So both of these men have fought in the UFC before.
Neal.
21-6. Neal, or actually Camacho is 21-6
Hands
against
of
Neal.
Steel Neal.
9-2 Hands of Steel. Come on for the Contender Series, lost his first one, won his second one, and then has gone on a 2-fight winning streak in the UFC, beating Brian Camozzi, but prior to that beating Waldon and another UFC contender guy. Camacho's come in and been spotty. 1-2 lost to 1-1 against Damian Brown. Camacho lost to Drew Dober 7 months ago. Camacho's got a great ground game, tough as nails. Doesn't check kicks as much as he should. Has tons of power, but is very looping in his strikes. On the ground is where he tends to make most of his money. But if I remember correctly, Neal has a really good wrestling background. And takedown defense is really, really good. Camacho has bad entries on his takedowns. It's where Neal wants to take this fight. And I feel like if he keeps it standing, Neal's also a better striker. It's all about Neal's gas tank I'm more worried about. We know Camacho fades after the midway through the second round. It's very looping punches, but I see decision written all over it. I don't think either man finishes each other. This is going to be a clear stay away for me. Latb staple here. How do you feel this one ends up by the end of the night?
I'm going full experience here, and I just think this is a big step up for Neal. Camacho has been inside the octagon 3 times the amount of him, and not that that's necessarily a good thing, but Camacho is always known to grind one out. And I don't know if Jeffrey Neal can yet. This is a big step up in competition from just stepping off Tuesday Night Contender to a fight that, it wasn't no offense to Camozzi, and it was not even the right Camozzi, right? It was the brother Camozzi.
It was the one that is worse than the other one.
So I'm just going to go experience here, Camacho decision, and I agree with you. This is a Latb stay away because I don't know if Camacho is going to be a guy on DraftKings or that we see lay down the numbers. So if he's an underdog, maybe he'll be worth your parlays, but I don't think he's going to be an underdog anywhere.
Minus 175 for Neal against plus 155 for Camacho.
Camacho,
the underdog. Right. I think you are onto something here because this is a really high step up in fighter for Neal. It's going to be a fun one. That's decisive fight. We're already splitting it up, and it's the first fight of the night. Second one goes down at bantamweight, 135 pounds. We have Irene Aldana versus Lucy Padilova. Aldana had that fight with that number 1
I have Ryan Benoit versus Roberto Sanchez.
I skipped one. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I've been excited about the ladies lately.
You just couldn't wait to get to Aldana.
You know how I feel. You know how I feel about my girl. So,
Aldana kind of looks like the picture, especially on Tapology, looks like the warden that had to be an inmate on Orange is the New Black.
I could totally see that. The one that got her head shaved?
Yeah. Like, she dated
totally
Big Boo.
Out of that camp, Alexis Grasso is definitely the better looking one. She's more like your aunt. That's just like a beast. Where you're like, I wouldn't mess with that lady. She's pretty. I think Aldana's pretty, but she's not that Ostovich hot. She's very anti-material.
I can't even remember Ostovich's face. Like, so it's not seared
Because
into...
I know what you're looking at is why. I know what you're looking
I don't know.
at.
I don't know. I have to, when it gets there, I'll have to see. But I'm not into...
Polynesian women?
No, who's the one that everybody's talking that's crazy
PVZ?
about? Yeah, I'm not into PVZ.
Yeah, I agree. PVZ's a little watered down.
Yeah, I think, like, I've seen that before.
So, the
I
fight
think
we missed...
Bullet's sister is very pretty.
Antonia?
Yeah, Antonia is really
Big Sister
pretty.
Chev?
Yeah.
I think they were both very beautiful
Is she Big
women.
Sister Chev?
We've talked about this. Baby
yeah.
Chev is our Valentina herself, who will be making a grand championship appearance later on in the night, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay, let's...
As I was before, trying to get to the lady fights, we have Benoit against Roberto Sanchez. Ryan Benoit has had multiple fights in here, getting some notable wins against Sergio Pettis, being win one, lose one for a while in the UFC, having over 5 fights. Last beating Mokhtari and losing to Moreno. Also beating, like I was saying, Pettis, but he was losing that whole fight. Losing also the Ben Nguyen. Ryan Benoit, 10-5, 500 fighter. He's had high-level competition, good wrestler, swings for the fences when he swings, but he carries that power into the 3rd round. Does slow down a bit, but at this flyweight division, these guys can go hard for a full 3 rounds. Roberto Sanchez, 8-1, only lost to Joseph Morales in a submission rear naked choke a year ago. Come back, beat Jacoby Sanchez in a submission. This is a young up-and-coming fighter at 32 years old, and Benoit at 29 has much more experience in the octagon ring. As much as youth is on his side right now, I do think that the prime of the potential for Sanchez is now, but the experience has me leaning Benoit just a little bit more. Sanchez can get hurt in there against lower competition, and Benoit has that type of power. We saw it against Pettis, losing that entire fight, and Benoit will eat a shot to give one out. It's whether they go to the ground, because on the ground, the advantage goes to Sanchez because he's so long. He throws up those triangles heavily, really makes people work good off of his back. Benoit has that stifling wrestling, though. Kickboxing-wise, I think Benoit slightly edges it out on points. I'm going to stay away from this one. I'm going Benoit decision. How do you feel this one ends up?
Sanchez reminds me of a little, who's everyone's all hot on? Ortega. He's a little Ortega. And he gets hurt a lot, but he will catch someone. And I think Ben Nguyen's not known to submit anyone, but he submitted Benoit. So I'm like, oh, if Ben Nguyen's going to submit you, I think Sanchez can submit you. So I got a sneaky play. I got Sanchez submission round 2. I think he might get beat up the whole first round, that he loses it like a 10-9 decisively, all 3 judges. But I think he can come back and jump into like a guillotine or something crazy where it's like, oh, damn, and it's over like that. Where Benoit even can take a fight so quick because it's like, God damn it, tap, tap, tap.
Yep. The underdog in the fight is going to be Ryan Benoit.
And he's a Gracie, too. He's Gracie trained.
Yes, he is. Ryan Benoit plus 105 against the favorite, Sanchez, at minus 125.
I'm actually surprised that he's the favorite.
So that's a really close one. Latb being split up again.
Already, 228.
That's how fun of a fight night we're going to end up having. Not even a fight night. What is this? Yeah, 228. Pay-per-view. Then we get to the lovely ladies. As I was saying before, we have Aldana versus Pavlova. 8-4 for Irene Aldana, coming off of 1-3 out of her last 3 fights in the UFC, beating Talia Bernardo in a decision. Lucy Pavlova, 8-2. One of her only wins in the UFC against Lena Landsberg's come off a 2-fight winning streak to Kim, the Chinese fighter. And who else did she beat? Sarah Moras in a decision. This fight really ends up mattering on the ground. Pavlova has good entries on her takedowns, likes to go for the takedown, clinch you up and drag you back down. Aldana has been known to be stifled on the ground. Off of her back, she's gotten stuck, and she can keep her head out of being submitted and her limbs, but it's been close in there. Pavlova, for me, on the ground is where this fight is the most dangerous. But striking-wise, you know I like me that Grasso Aldana striking, boxing, heavy-centric to the body and head. Kill you by 1,000 cuts. Not a lot of power, so Pavlova has a lot of time to be able to get this fight to the ground and eventually wear Aldana out. Initially, I had Aldana because, you know, I like to rep my Mexican girls. But
Yeah.
the more and more I'm talking about it, I think, as I'm saying, it's going to be more Aldana fighting off Pavlova the entire fight. The more and more I see this fight, and I'm going to go Pavlova split decision against Aldana. Sorry, girl, but money talks.
I have Aldana decision right now, but for every reason that you say, I totally think you could be right. It could be a grind where Pavlova is just so damn young.
Yep.
If she's getting the same amount better every time, it's just going to be that much better, like a young person learning a new language. The only thing I love about Aldana is that she went to a decision loss against my girl Leslie Smith. That makes her such a hard grinder herself, because Leslie Smith has a decent... I think Leslie Smith's Gracie trained. So...
Yep.
I want to think that if she fought off Leslie Smith enough to not get submitted in that fight, she can do the same thing to Lucy. It's just how strong is Lucy? And coming up at her age, is she already comfortable catching weight for this kind of, or, you know, making weight? Like, is she actually cutting so she is that much bigger of a person going in? I don't know. I like what you're saying. I'm going to go Pudlova decision as well.
Minus 105, Lucy Pudlova against minus 115, slight favorite in a coin flip of a fight.
It should be.
This is a dirty ass split coming up, guys.
I agree.
So exposure to it.
It might not be enough points either way.
I'd agree. It's a decision all over it, is
It's
what
a
we
stay
both
away.
have to see that. So it probably will turn in that stay away. But we're going to have other key plays coming up in Jim Miller versus Alex White at 155 pounds. Jim Miller coming off a 4-fight losing streak, being 28-12, longtime veteran against a 12-4 Alex White. Alex White, notoriously known for drinking gasoline as a kid and living through it. We've talked about it here before, and it is true. He did make it around. He's been win one, lose one in the UFC for a while now. The 29-year-old from Missouri has really started to get his kickboxing game and cardio in check, because that
Jim
was
Miller
his
drinks
hardest.
gasoline now.
It's been showing in a 4-fight losing streak. You can see his guts are ruined. Can't take a body shot to save his life anymore.
Shit.
Unfortunately for him, Jim Miller's been fighting the top level competition, and this is going to be his first step down in caliber of fighter. But unfortunately for him, Alex White's been putting in the proper work. The things that he was deficient in his early losses in the UFC, he came back and showed better gas tank, moved around the camps. He's been doing all that. His last loss is James Krause. You know how the Bean feels here about James Krause. Sneaky underdog in that division. Well, Krause is now at 70, but either way, Krause is not a hard loss by any means whatsoever. This is a bigger fade on Jim Miller than anything. Alex White is going to be in a lot of tough fights. It's just Jim Miller can't take it anymore. He's been talking about hand issues for years and years now. I think this is a paycheck, because on that tier for Reebok, Jim Miller's at the top level. He's had over 22 fights in the UFC. One of the longest tenured fighters of all time.
It's a very good point.
So we've been seeing it with these guys.
He's making that old man paycheck.
Exactly.
Where he's
Where
making
it's
tons
to show.
more than
it
the
doesn't
little
matter.
guys, yeah.
It's just about showing up to the fight. So I got Alex White, TKO round number 1 or 2. I'm going to be putting this everywhere.
Huh.
It's a fade on Jim Miller more than anything. How do you
Wow.
feel this one goes down?
I think Jim Miller's a little tougher than that and can make it all the way to the decision. I don't think Alex White has the KO power that Daniel Hooker has by any means, and he isn't one of my favorites going forward. I really like him, but Jim Miller's just not a walkthrough to me. He loses to the best guys, and he loses by decision. I don't like that it's only been 3 months since he got knocked out.
With that
That is
knee.
something I hate. But I wonder how much longer Jim Miller is going to fight, or how much contract he has left. I got Miller decision right now. I just think he can wear out Alex White.
That's the clear path to victory. I see it as well. If there's a way to beat Alex White in this fight, for me, is that gas tank. And that's what Alex White has shown the most deficiencies. That I do feel like he's corrected, though. So that's where the money, that's where the wager comes in. Minus 150 favorite, Alex White over Jim Miller, plus 120. Another split here at Latb.
I have White decision.
Oh,
or unless I accidentally just touched it. I might have just touched it. Yeah, Miller decision. I'm like, no, I don't feel that way. I don't feel White decision. I think Miller, you know, just experience makes do. So, yeah, another split.
Another split here at Latb. I think we're going to side heavily on this next one because it's going to be the same situation as fading one fighter more than the other. Diego Sanchez versus Craig White. Lionheart, 27-11, is batted some wins in there, can really grind it out, but is the only fighter left out of the first season of the UFC, Diego Sanchez. That's how long. The only fighter
That is
longer,
a long time.
Only fighter longer than Jim Miller is Diego Sanchez. One of those few guys. It's a long, long, long time. Craig White.
Wow, older than Jim Miller.
Older than Jim Miller in fights.
Holy
It's
hell.
unreal. Craig White came in short notice against Neil Magny, lost 2 months ago, but big step up. We saw just Neil Magny really outvet him. Craig White got a shot and took it, willing to take the loss. Now UFC's like, okay, here you go. Maybe we can make a name off you. It doesn't matter who would really be in there with Diego Sanchez by this point. It's just going to be anybody. Craig White has power. The way to lose this fight for Craig White is to be outground, but Diego just doesn't have a chin. We've seen guys that don't have power just completely starch him. Then again, they were 170 pounders. Wait, this fight's at 170. Woo!
Yeah.
So, does the Winklejohn factor matter here? Because Diego Sanchez was sticking up for Winklejohn against Donald Cerrone.
Diego Sanchez is the Artem Lobov of Jackson Winklejohn.
The GOAT?
Yeah, he is.
Not Holly. Or JBJ.
No, it's Diego Sanchez is the Artem Lobov of Jackson Winklejohn. What Lobov is to, what is it, SBG? Diego Sanchez is to Jackson Wink.
I think you got something there. But
I'm just
gonna
saying,
go
how
White.
could I go against him?
I got White TKO number one, and it's just, I don't got to break down anything. On the ground, Diego Sanchez would eat him alive, but
Diego Sanchez
time they
doesn't make
stand
it to the ground. He's the one with all the pressure and walks right into
the punches.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Exactly.
agree with you. I have White KO round 1 too, and I'm gonna have him on a lot of cards.
A ton of cards, but I think the betting odds have it the same way. Minus 240 favorite for Craig White in his second fight in the UFC. So again, fading Diego Sanchez more than playing Craig White. So they might be money made later on in White's career when people are like, he knocked out Diego Sanchez. Yeah, so did the other the other guys at Winklejohn apparently, because they all fighting. Then we go to Darren Stewart at 185 pounds versus Charles Byrd. Charles Byrd coming off of that Contender Series as well, being 10-4. He has a fight in the UFC over John Phillips. Submission 5 months
He
ago.
kind of looks like a guy that used to be on The Real World. I think it was The Real World Los Angeles.
Charles Byrd does?
Yeah, like
I
the
can see
second or
that.
third season, there was
Yep.
a guy that pulled a girl down the hallway with her underwear on and got in all this trouble and had to get kicked out of the house. He looks like that guy.
I could see that. I remember who you're talking about. I remember that situation.
I don't know. Anyway.
So, where he's come is to the UFC apparently to fight Darren Stewart. He's coming off of a
San Francisco.
long-needed win against Eric Spicely
I
3
feel like
months
his
ago.
name was Charles, too. I'm so curious.
We'll have to
look
get
that
back
up.
to you.
That'll
yeah.
be like a little interesting tidbit if we come out. Like, we'll be like, what up, Latb? Bringing you the trivia.
At 34 years old, Byrd is right in there, but I do feel like off of the Contender Series, he was a big-time wrestler, super athlete most of his life. Maybe the Real World guy was the same one. Though Byrd comes in with good wrestling credentials, he usually uses a good top
No,
game.
I think that other guy was a comedian. I think he was a stand-up comic.
Oh, I don't remember
I really do,
enough
and I
of
think he
their
was on Def
backgrounds.
Comedy Jam or something. It's one of those old things.
Well, this
Anyway.
guy definitely puts people to sleep by submitting them. Charles Byrd usually takes them down, gets them down there, and rear naked chokes them. Few wins there, couple knockouts via TKO, ground and pound, good takedowns, good cardio for Byrd from what we've seen. Against Stewart's lack of chin and lack of cardio. We saw it against Spicely a bit, but Spicely isn't any big guy. His biggest win is Thiago Santos, who is a one-dimensional fighter. Darren Stewart has been a fade here traditionally at Latb, and I think I'm going to keep that rolling. I got Byrd winning this standing and or on the ground whenever he needs to. The experience by far goes to Stewart, but I'm going to go with Byrd on this one. I do think he's the favorite here. I got TKO round number 2, softens him up, finishes him on the ground. I got Charles Byrd. Who do you have in this one?
I have Charles Byrd as well, but just by a submission round 1. I think he throws punches as long as he needs to, and he can kind of control him everywhere here. So I think he just puts him out of his misery early, and I think he's going to be worth his points.
Minus 230 favorite, Charles Byrd.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Against the plus 190. That is, a lot of people see that. It's Stewart beating a Spice Lee, who is a very low-key fighter in himself. Then we go to another coin flip of a fight. This one has got fight of the night potential written all over it. We have Jimmy Rivera against John Dodson, the magician himself, 20-9 against the 21-2 Rivera. Rivera getting his first loss in a long time against Marlon Moraes. TKO head kick happened in seconds 3 months ago against John Dodson, who is a perennial top 10 fighter, has tons of power, really started to limit in the movement, has become an overhand right machine, good takedown defense. Submissions doesn't go to it all, but you're not going to really take down John Dodson. That Winklejohn product as well, John Dodson, just throwing that out there. At 33 years old, this guy's had as many fights. Very true. John Dodson has been fighting as long as many other fighters in there. Rivera is definitely the newer guy. This is a coin flip of a fight. Rivera does his best when he takes guys down and really outpoints them with decisions, where John Dodson has amazing takedown defense and standing. Rivera has always been criticized for being hurt in his fights. John Dodson still has the power to put a lot of people out. The thing is that he just falls on that overhand right. So if you learn to stay out of the way of that, you can outpoint John Dodson. I'm not going to go heavy on this fight either way.
I don't think this has a chance of being a fight of the night. I think the way John Dodson fights, it's very Holly Holmes-esque.
Run away, throw an overhand right.
It's very Holly Holmes-esque. They have like
John
that
Winklejohn?
same... Yes, it's like that exact same plan. But what I'm hoping is... Normally, I would have Jimmy everywhere here.
Yep.
I don't like the way he looked in his last fight. Yeah, he got starched.
By a top 3 guy, though. Moraes is
I think it's sending Marlon Moraes on a
crazy tear.
A crazy tear that he doesn't... I don't think he's deserving. Anytime I see a guy make the head kick win, and they go off on... Because it's such a brutal knockout. Too. Any person on the planet, if they land a head kick with any other person on the planet, it knocks them out. Like woman, man, size, whatever. So it's just a weird thing for me. And Marlon Moraes is a big, huge guy for the division. John Dodson just stays on the outside. I think he can do enough. I don't like how early Jimmy Rivera got knocked out either. Was that at our fight in Orlando?
That was not.
I feel like I was that person for that. It was so brutal.
It was brutal.
But because I saw Holly win her last fight, I was so impressed. I'm hoping they do the same thing with John Dodson here. That it's not just such a one-tiered game plan. He does have great takedown defense. I don't know. I have Dodson decision. But I think it's going to be like that kind of feeling. Like, yeah.
So, for the early preliminary show that we have a contender for a Leslie Smith underdog pick of the week. I got John Dodson via decision.
Wow, he's a heavy underdog. Or I don't know if he is or not.
Plus 120 against the minus 140 Rivera. I think this is going to go to coin flip by... If you're going to make your bets, make it now on that fight, because it's going to be minus 115 by closing lines. Guaranteed. That's a way closer fight than people have it.
You know what I think's more truer than ring rust, in my opinion? I don't mean more truer. I was separating that by let me start again.
All right.
You know what I think is a truer thing than ring rust? Having a fear of being ball shy and getting, like, once you're knocked out or you get hit by something like Rivera did in his last fight, that'll change your game more than taking some time off.
If you hesitate a split second, that little mini overhand right will put you right
3
out.
months ago, that gnarly ass
We said that about
knockout.
Sterling, though, with Moraes when he did it 3 or 4 months after his, and he came back and won.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta learn to stay off of that a bit much. I'm just kind of being devil's advocate there, but I do buy that hype a little bit. I don't like that quick loss or quick
who did
return.
Sterling fight as well?
It was like another wrestler after that. It
Yeah,
wasn't as dynamic as a striker.
Yeah.
Exactly. I see where you're coming. See what you're serving up there. But that's a fun one to break down. Can't wait to get back on that one. While the iron's hot, you better put cash on John Dodson. Then we go to a bantamweight bout at 135 pounds. Aljamain Sterling against Cody Stamann. Sterling coming off a 15-3 record, getting a win off
I would
a
say these are
devastating
two
knockout.
of your favorite guys.
I agree. Both up-and-comers.
Yeah, you both like them both.
Like them both. That's what makes this such a fun fight. This is a fighter in the night potential for
agree
as
with
well. Cody Stamann being 17-1, perfect in the UFC, has beat Brian Caraway, has beat other top contenders, notoriously tough guys. Diakese, or Duquesnoy, Ware, freaking Stamann comes in with a great wrestling, good takedown defense, clean boxing on the inside, somewhat of power, great gas tank, very Sean Shirk dimensions, very muscle sharky to me, with better head movement and better game plans, where Aljamain Sterling at that Sarah Longo camp has really come back and showed that his D1 college wrestling that Stamann has equally is where he can make his money. Aljamain Sterling got into that striking realm and realized when he put his lights out, like, hey, I need to go to get back what I'm good at. And I think Stamann can match that. I think Stamann can turn this into a wrestling grind. I don't see a finish coming here. I think both fighters neutralize each other's striking. Neither has the power advantage here. So, technically, I like what Stamann does a little bit more with his head movement into transition to takedowns. Aljamain Sterling can do the same thing, but this is going to be a scramble city. I think there's a decision all day, but I think there's an exciting, high-paced. The winner gets 65 to 70 points. Loser gets 40 on DK once it comes out. But I'm going with the underdog. Picking Stamann here in a dirty-ass split. Be on the lookout. Who do you got for this one?
I got Stamann as well.
Woo!
I think Stamann beating Caraway is a better wrestler than Aljamain Sterling. So if it's going to be a grind, I also like Stamann's chin a little better. I think the last couple of guys he's gone against are crazy dynamic strikers, where I've seen Aljamain Sterling get rocked in there of late and not that long ago. So I just think Aljamain Sterling, he's gotten a lot of fights lately. He's doing everything right. I think this is going to be a great fight, but I have Stamann as well, decision.
Minus 130 for Aljamain Sterling, the favorite, against plus 110. That's going to be a minus 115 by the booking lines close. So if you need a parlay, two underdogs, here Lesbo and The Bean is providing more than enough parlay fodder for you. We got underdogs in every single fight, somewhere or other so far. And again, we're only doing the preliminaries for this so far. So stay tuned to our Wednesday show.
Yeah, we're not making it easy.
Not at all. Then we go to the strawweight division. This is going to cap off our breakdown for the preliminaries. The FS headliner, we have Carla Esparza against Tatiana Suarez. Wrestler versus wrestler, old blood versus new. 30-year-old Carla Esparza being 13-5, former champion, taking a tumble, comeback, gotten big wins against the perfect 6-0 Suarez, being a meteor in the division, directly getting women down, submitting them, and taking no shit from nobody. Esparza, we've seen with Herring, their Oyama camp is really bringing top level quality in there, but if we've seen anything, it's always
I don't like them meeting yet. I don't like them meeting yet.
It's so early?
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect stepping stone. If Suarez wins this, I feel like she has a straight title contention at the 115. Or up in the top 5, maybe?
I agree with you. I think this is a huge... I love Suarez. She's one of my favorites in this division right now. At least, like, in the top 2 or 3 people that I like. I just think Carla, man...
Underdog City.
I think she is.
Yeah.
Carla makes people look bad.
Yep. It's one of those things we say here.
She gets no respect and she makes people look bad.
Oyama looks good. That camp looks good too. Better than people think. And they have quality women coming out of there where you're like, oh shit, she trains there too. Where they've gotten more into that, hey, maybe we need a camp that's ladies on ladies, because ladies with guys doesn't necessarily work out the best all the time. Calderwood just did that as well.
Gosh, but then it's like, if Marcos can win a split decision, which I don't know, did Marcos really win that fight, or was everyone...
a dirty split. I had Marcos in that, so I ain't hating too much, but I wouldn't have been mad if Esparza won that fight either.
Because Suarez has been eating girls. Oh!
Direct takedown, D1 level wrestler.
You are right, man.
Esparza.
It's like, what are they? Great gains equals great rewards, or great risks equals great rewards. That's what it is for Esparza. It's everything for Esparza to lose.
So we have seen Esparza's takedown defense be challenged a bit more later on, and it hasn't held up as much. Again, great takedowns by Suarez, legitimately. As a wrestler, you can see that she has good head positioning. The fighter in there that we've just seen break more has been Esparza, but is that because we've seen her fight longer? Suarez has 6 fights total. She hasn't been in there with a grinder like Esparza potentially. This has 3-round decision written all over it. I don't see a submission coming right away. I think Esparza's a crafty vet that's not getting the plus 425 for Esparza. Is way too much. Minus 500 for Suarez, way too much. That's not respect. I do think Suarez should be the favorite here, but 2-1, minus 150, 180, not this 5-1. Esparza's
I don't
way
think she should be the favorite. I am surprised she is.
Oh, wow.
Well, I love Suarez here, but she beat Grasso, who I thought was an overrated candidate since she's been in the division. Like, it was like, yeah. Carla Esparza's been in there with every single great fighter in the division. Every single one. And the Ronda Marcos thing is really sketchy. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch that fight. But the other ones in there, she loses to Gedalia and Joanna.
She beat Calvillo, who was in this meteoric rise. Remember Calvillo sitting right next? And everyone's like, it was a 4-1.
Calvillo got upset. That's the one she got upset. And was like,
and then she popped her weed and was like...
That was a bull. They didn't really care about the weed. She flicked off and walked out like a badass, and the state was like, dump. Dump button.
Yep. But Esparza is a Brian Caraway type of fighter. Doesn't look flashy in her wins, but when she cashes at 4, like, that's not even... I'm not picking Esparza, but I'm going to throw a little bit of money that way because the odds are off there.
I am picking Esparza. I'm switching. Woo! I have Esparza decision.
I got decision Suarez.
I don't...
What a premium fight night we have so far. Wednesday, you got to stick around because that's going to be Nico Price versus
training partners. I really like Suarez, but Carla, she's making me a fan. She's making me... Ugh, I don't like that Marcos loss. That's the only thing.
Exactly.
But I feel like Marcos was hometown. Carla traveled. It was a weird overseas card.
But that's Carla Esparza as well, is that as much as she doesn't decisively win fights, she is an ex-champion. Decisively. Yes.
She is an
mentioned that.
Champion.
So
Tatiana Suarez is somebody to watch, but she beat Grasso right now, which if she beats Carla, though, that's a big, huge, like, she beat Grasso and she beat Carla. Tatiana's your girl, but I can't do it yet. I'm staying with the Cookie Monster. I don't even like saying that name.
The truth. So, as promised, we will come back with a more intensive breakdown on those last 5 fights of the night. Is it 6 fights of the night? Because it's 14
Wednesday.
Card
so make sure you're liking and subscribing if you want that Wednesday card. And I think that's it.
I think so as well. Can't wait to the next one. It was a fun one.
Thanks for listening.
Lesbo and the Bean.
Thanks for listening to Latb. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.